Hi guys! I thought today would be such a fun day to just kind of get to know you all on a deeper level. I asked you guys to ask me questions about like advice, or if you want to hear anything from me, because I know when I follow my favorite influencers, I'm like, okay, I love all their fashion finds, but I want to get to know them too. So I thought I'd just kind of talk to you all today. I hope sometimes when I sit down and film videos like this, I'll watch it back and be like, oh my god, you had something in your teeth, or your hair was doing this. So let's hope we're all good on that end, but I thought I'd just skip the rambling and let's just get into our chatty Q&A. So the first question is advice for moving to New York City, then advice about the dating in New York City. So my advice for moving to New York City, honestly, is get a roommate, okay? Rent isn't cheap, but no, jokes aside, either get a roommate or look for like good studio prices. But I used to be a New York City hater, actually. I moved here mainly for my boyfriend, but then also because like I got a job here, so it just worked out. And I was a New York City hater, but now that I've been living here, I totally see the opportunity for it, and I get why people move here. Also, just like, it's a great community and place to be when you're in your early 20s. A lot of people that move here are looking for friends, whereas I feel like in smaller suburban hometowns, a lot of people aren't really necessarily like trying to meet new people. But in New York, you'll always find someone that's trying to make a friend. So that is my biggest piece of advice. As for finding an area, I don't know. I think it depends on where you work, what's in your budget, that sort of thing. And the dating in New York, I wish I had a good answer to this, but I haven't had to date in New York, thank gosh. But I would just say, like, put yourself out there, you know, like, have expectations, but also put yourself out there, get to know people. Which I know it's easier said than done, because I've actually heard, even though New York City is such a big city, I've heard it's so hard to date here. Okay, this is a good question. Thoughts on a young marriage? Me and my boyfriend are planning to have kids young. I don't know, define young. I feel like anything under the age of 21 is like, whoa, you can't even legally drink, but like to each their own. I always said I wanted to be married by 25, and now that I'm 23, almost 24, like who knows if that timeline's gonna happen. It's 50-50, but I feel like it really, every person is different. Honestly, my pet peeve are people that are like, don't get married yet before 30, like you're setting yourself up for divorce. It really depends on the people, the maturity of the people, the phase of life they're in, finances. Like there's so much that goes into it, the progression of the relationship. Like if your natural progression is to get married and you've been dating for 5 years, don't let age stop you, you know? So I'm all for it. It said having kids young too. Just make sure you're ready for kids. Kids I'm a little more hesitant on, because it's not like you can like undo that. Like worst case, you could get a divorce, not that you want to. And I think also like you don't want to have kids and then not have the resources to have kids. I think that's very selfish. So you really want to think it through before you do. But I also think having kids young has its pros, you know, like you're going to be around a lot longer. You're going to have more energy to keep up with them. Like there's definitely the pros. Where do you want to live when you start a family someday? This is a great question and has been a heavy question between my boyfriend and I. I don't know. Me, myself, my family is like, we're a bunch of floaters. Like my parents are from New York, but then all of their people moved elsewhere. And they lived in Arizona for a bit. Then they raised me in Pennsylvania, which we had no ties to besides my dad's job. So I'm kind of open to anything. I think my boyfriend's leaning more towards Pittsburgh just because his whole family is there. I'm not gonna lie, Pittsburgh definitely wouldn't have been my first choice, but we're actually going to, in a month, maybe tour some areas. Also, sorry if you can hear the alarm. I live in New York, so there's always gonna be some kind of ambulance, fire alarm. You know the vibe. I think I've only seen small parts of Pittsburgh, and I want to tour more like towns and neighborhoods and see if I could picture myself in them. So we're gonna tour some, you know, areas of Pittsburgh. But I don't know. I always said like I'd also love to be in Jersey, close to New York City. Like you get the suburb life, but you also get the city life. I would love to be close to a beach. I would have even tried out Florida or Charleston, but I don't know if my boyfriend's on board. And part of me is like, everyone I know is up here, and I do like getting the 4 seasons, but I will say January through April is when I'm like itching for warmth, and I'm like, why am I up here? But then the rest of the year I'm like, oh no, I love the summers in the Northeast. So long answer short, I don't know. Let's see. Is social media your full-time job? Yes, social media is my full-time job. So I graduated college last May, so almost a year ago now, and I got a PR job working, it's like a marketing agency slash a PR job working at the World Trade Center. And it was a fellowship, which was actually perfect for me because I kind of got to test out doing both. I was a little nervous going into it because even being like a full-time college student was a lot for me, on top of, you know, like there's just so much behind the scenes that go into being an influencer. It's the easiest, best job in the world, but it is a time commitment to film the videos, edit them, there's brand deals, there's negotiation, like there's just a lot of things that I feel like people don't really see, because I was that person that was like, oh my god, it seems so easy, like time consuming. It's not like 1 hour and you're done. Like there's different, you know, different things, and I like to post very consistently, like multiple times every day. But yeah, it just got to the point where I didn't love the PR job. I didn't feel like it was fulfilling me at all, and I was making more money doing my own thing, and I had way more fun doing my own thing, and I felt like the PR job was really holding me back to like opportunities and things I was getting invited to in New York City. For me, it was like being able to be like, yep, I got invited to this, I want to go to this, that sort of thing. So for now, I'm just taking a leap of faith, doing it full time. I've been doing it full time for over 6 months now, and it's been great. I have zero regrets. Okay, sorry, I'm back. My camera ran out of storage, but pretty much what I was saying is a lot of people are very quick to be like, well, that's not permanent, that's not guaranteed. It isn't, and I have my college degree, and if social media were to disappear tomorrow, I know I'd be able to find a job. Yeah, I'd have to like work up the corporate ladder again soon, but to me, like, I'm living my dream life right now, my dream job. It's worth taking that risk and leap of faith. So if you could go back in time, what would you change and what would you experience again? So honestly, my immediate reaction is just like middle school and high school. I was such a shy girl, and I feel like I'm still very introverted by nature, but I let so much of my thoughts and inner dialogue keep me from doing what I want to do. Like even getting into content creation, I didn't do that really till college because I was so scared in high school of judgment, and like, you know, it's hard growing up being young. So I just wish I could tell my younger self, like, go for it. Like, who cares what people think? Literally, people are going to talk no matter what. And then what would you want to experience again? And I know everyone's going to say this. I don't know, I love the phase of life I'm in, and I'm one of those people that, like, my mom's always said I've been like a 40-year-old woman my whole life. Like, college I knew I wouldn't thrive in, but I do miss college in the sense of like living down the street from all my great friends, and like just the community aspect of college. I do miss that. So sometimes I do wish I could go back to that. How do you balance alone time while living with your boyfriend in a studio versus a 1-bedroom? This is a great question, and I got a few people asking this. Well, I mean, right now I have my alone time. He goes into the office. He has a very flexible job in the sense that like he can work remote whenever he wants to work remote, but he's such an in-person guy, and he likes that dialogue. He's in sales, so it's easier for him to be in person. So a lot of times it's when he's at work and I'm home, or he works out earlier than me. He'll work out at like 5 a.m. I'll go to the gym more like 8 a.m. So we do our own thing working out. So I feel like we get our alone time when we're working out, random things. Like sometimes at night I'll be in my room doing whatever, skincare, and he's like out here watching TV and basketball. So you find little ways. Also spending time with friends. We each do our own things. Like he was at a happy hour last night with work. You know, just that gives us that nice separation and independence. Do you ever feel like you struggle with imposter syndrome being a content creator? Yes and no. I mean, of course, social media is a highlight reel, and you're not going to go into your like darkest secrets and emotions. Like if I had a really bad day and I'm crying, I'm not going to show that, but I try to keep it really real and transparent. And you know, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Life is going to have its hardships. So yes and no. Okay, this is a good one. How did you get through long distance, and have you done it before? So I did long distance for 2 years when I first met my boyfriend, and it definitely wasn't easy, but like FaceTimes were our saving grace, and also having pre-planned hangouts. So like once a month we would try to plan a weekend together and already have it booked, already planned things, so we had something to look forward to, and those two things really helped. Also knowing it was temporary. I don't really recommend getting in long distance with someone that's gonna last for like over 5 years and there's no end timeline, unless it's like military or like special circumstances. But knowing like after college and when I graduated that we'd end it, that was very helpful. Oh, someone said, what was your reaction to the infamous TikTok 5 things you won't allow your boyfriend to do? I thought it was funny. I loved hearing people's comments. I don't know, it wasn't anything too bad. I feel like everything I said was pretty reasonable, so I'm just like, eh. And also social media, I'm so used to getting wrapped for random things, so. How is living with your boyfriend? Did you establish rules? How do you split up finances? This is another great question. I love living with my boyfriend. He is my best friend. There's literally no one else I'd want to live with. So that was pretty easy. I will say it was a transition period going from long distance to then seeing each other every day. Like we went from one extreme to the next extreme. And you do want to establish rules. I feel like pretty early on we started to establish rules just from like a day-to-day, seeing how we live. Like this many times a week we want to cook at home, or we want to keep this clean, or on Sundays we grocery shop and do laundry, like little things, and just setting boundaries. And then for splitting up finances, it really depends. Right now we're like 50-50 on rent. We each pay about the same amount in rent. Like it's just an even split, and that works for us. But then I would say everything else, bills-wise, it was like 70-30. Like he'll pay utilities, he'll pay for our internet and cable. I'm trying to think. Yeah, we'll split up groceries. So like 1 week I might get groceries, 1 week he gets groceries, but then he'll pay for all the dinners, like going out to eat. I mean, if we're getting coffee or something, I'll be like, oh, I'll get us coffee. Or sometimes I'm in the mood. I don't see it so like his money versus my money. I see it as like, if you are my person, what's your money is also my money, and what's my money is his money. Like I don't see it as like oh well, I'm trying to save more than you, or this or that. Like I don't know, we don't think too deeply about it. I just think it's very like, I'm not trying to run him dry, he's not trying to run me dry. Couples that split everything down to the nickel creep me out, but then couples that like only the guy's paying for everything, like I also just don't think that's fair at all. But to each their own, like what works for some people won't work for others. So I would say rent is 50-50, but then other things he'll take on a little bit more, like 60-70, 30-40 type of vibe. I need some advice for starting my freshman year of college, especially social life. Put yourself out there, but also set boundaries. Do not let peer pressure get to you. Like seriously, I joined a sorority, but that didn't keep me from like having my nights in, and like if I didn't feel like drinking, I just didn't drink. And it was kind of hard, and you know, it set the reputation that I was a grandma, but like I didn't care because that was just too important to me. You know, I went out and had fun when I wanted to, and then when I didn't. So that was my biggest piece of advice. And also make like schools your #1 priority. Like you're paying to go to school. Someone said, I deal with the same hyperhidrosis. I've never had Botox. So I got Botox for excessive sweating, hyperhidrosis, and it's been amazing so far, like no regrets. But a lot of people slid up and told me to get Mira Dry. It's like a treatment you do once. I don't know, I need to research it more, but apparently it's like a one-time treatment. It's not surgery, but it's like kind of like Botox, but it's guaranteed for life, whereas Botox is only 6 months. So I might have to look into that when my Botox wears off, but so far it's helped my sweating so much. I used to try like Drysol and other deodorants, but they would burn my armpits and make them itch so bad that I would have to like rub it off, but then it wouldn't work if it wasn't on, so it was hard. One said, how will you and your soon-to-be husband handle religion in school for your children? So I'm assuming that means my boyfriend. Honestly, my boyfriend and I are both Christians, so that's not a huge issue. He is Catholic. I'm not necessarily specifically Catholic, like I was just always Christian, but I'm fine with like, honestly, just whatever, be a good person. I'm probably going to, okay, my camera keeps running out of storage, but this time I actually tried to sit and delete a decent amount instead of like 2 things. But yeah, pretty much, I probably will raise my kids with Christian values, but also like I'm open to anything and will support my kids no matter what. And then for school, my boyfriend and I are pretty much on the same page. Like we want to get them in a good public school. I don't really think private school's worth the money, but to each their own. Like my boyfriend went to an all boys private school, I went to a public school. I just think you can get a great education at a public school, especially if it's in a good school district. So I think that's probably what we will do. But who knows? Like who knows? Never say never, I guess. This is a funny question someone asked. Someone was like, is dating different for someone that's 3 years older? Like genuinely curious. Is it different dating someone 3 years older? Honestly, no, because I always say, I think, and this isn't trying to stereotype, but I do think guys are 5 years behind in the sense of like wanting to settle down, wanting the family, and like even John was like, if we were the same age, we would not be dating, because I was so different in college than, like, I met him his first year post-grad. So he was also fresh out of college, and I was in my sophomore year. So it really isn't a huge difference. Like, he had just finished college, and I was in the middle of it. So if it was like 10 years older, maybe. And my parents, there's like a 9-year difference between them, and they even are like, no, we feel like we're the same age. I just think it's one of those things, the older you get, the more it's just like, it's really all the same. How do you deal with the post-grad blues? That's a great question because I've been feeling them. Honestly, put yourself out there, like try to make new, like have fun things to look forward to. I feel like we can get lost post-grad and like, okay, well, what's next? I still try to like plan some fun trips or do things or meet up with people for coffee, just stay at the gym, like things that keep me active. But I won't lie, like active and social and in the community, but I won't lie, like there are times where I'm like, oh, I just miss college. I miss being able to have 5 girlfriends at once, all of us hang out at the apartment together and then go out. Like I do miss that. Or just even like going out to dinner together or doing random things together. So it's hard, and like give yourself grace. I also think like no one knows what we want. Like I'm even like 20s, I would say arguably 20s is harder than any other phase in your life because you're really figuring out like who you are, what you want to be, where you want to live. Like it's a lot. And sometimes I'm like, I just can't wait to skip to the phase of life when I'm 35 and have it all figured out. And not that everyone has it all figured out, but you have a better idea of like your morals, your values, where you want to be for a majority of your life. I don't know. I just think you seem to have a better sense of self. So, yeah, but be easy on yourself. We're all going through it. How was the transition moving to New York? It was hard. Guys, it was not easy. I'm such a suburban girl, and I will always be a suburban girl through and through. Like walking everywhere, especially when the weather is bad, or just like, I don't like the wind touching my hair. It's so annoying, but it also has its pros. And to me, like, the pros for right now do outweigh the cons. I could never raise a family here just because that's a lot of money. Like, I think John and I being in a 1-bed together really helps, and just like having a ton of young people I've met up with just also helps. I'm in social media too. Like if I wasn't an influencer, I don't even know if I'd feel the need to be here. I mean, my boyfriend's here for his job, so I probably would just be working here. But there's just like a lot of job opportunity and like chance to network and meet people. So the transition isn't easy. Like getting used to the subway, I was so scared of the subway, but I also think I've had like a lot of great personal growth because of New York. Like I feel like I've matured in good ways thanks to New York City. Now I'll literally take the subway to Brooklyn by myself. If you would have told me that a year ago today, I literally would have been like, are you kidding me? Like absolutely not. So in that sense, I feel like I'm just like a lot more self-aware, and just it makes you grow up, but like in a good way. Anything you could do in the suburbs, you can do in New York, but it might be 2 times harder. Like getting groceries isn't as easy, you know, like running multiple errands is a lot more physically demanding. Like it's more expensive. Like I have to take an Uber at night. It's more expensive than just getting in my car and driving, but it's worth it for right now, and I do love it, and there's so much at my fingertips, and the shopping is great here. So I will say there's pros and cons. What's your honest opinion on Greek life? I go to JMU and I saw I'm also a Theta like you were. Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't love Greek life. I'm gonna be so honest. I always say I was the most bare minimum sorority girl. I didn't really get involved in anything besides going to like weekly chapters, and like for me it was a way to meet friends and like add something to my resume. And once I did meet my core group from my sorority within the first 2 years, and once I had them, it was just like a lot of the stuff became pointless to me, and I'm not a big party girl, so a lot of it like I just kind of found the other girls that were similar to me in my sorority, and we kind of stuck together. So I love it, but is it the end all be all? Was I the most involved? No. Like I feel like you realize it, especially once you graduate college. You're like, wow, sorority's like it's all gonna end one day, so just remember that. Like if you don't love it but your friend group's in it, I say stick it out, because one day you'll be graduated. It's not like you're in a sorority for life. And advice on building self-esteem. This is hard and one I'm still working on, but I feel like each year I get older, it helps. But you just have to be confident in who you are and who you are as a person, honestly. And like, I think a big thing that really helps me is everyone's so worried about themselves. Like, for example, at the gym, I'm sure we all do it. Like, there'll be times I'm working out, I'm like, oh, I wonder if someone's looking at like, oh, like, everyone's so worried about how they look in the gym, but everyone's also only looking at themselves. So really, you just have to be confident in who you are and just focus on yourself. I'm still kind of working on that as well, so I wish I had better advice, but I would say that it doesn't really matter. Life isn't that serious. I definitely didn't answer every question, but I touched on a lot of them. If you have any more, please leave them in the comments below. But I just want to say I love you guys so much. I miss doing a sit-down Q&A talk, and these are just so much fun. I don't know, I love hearing these from other people too, and just getting their like perspective on life. I always like hearing different insight. But anyways, I'm filming this on a Friday, but you probably won't see this till like a Monday. So have a great week, guys, and I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one.